Alrighty, in this video we're going to talk about is how we can get an event handler from a stateless function to fire to a, or not a stateless function, a stateless component, to fire code on a stateful component. So what I want to do is I want to create a function. So remember, the app component, stateful component, is responsible for containing all the data in our application right now. It's the top level component. It's what would be talking to the model, quote unquote, and calling web services and accessing local storage and all that fun stuff. All the components underneath it should be completely ignorant of that fact. They shouldn't know where the data is coming from. They should just know that they were given data and that they should present data. And this keeps a very nice, clean separation of concerns with your code. But that gives us that causes us a problem, though, because what we need to do is we need to be able to click on each individual to-do item and complete it. So, but the problem is the DOM for the to-do, the shadow DOM for the to-do elements is down here in the to-do list component and nowhere near the app component itself. The solution to this is to create a function on our actual app component, our root app component, and then pass it in to the to-do list as a sort of delegate. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to write a function called, I don't know, set to-do status, and it's going to take in a to-do and a, I don't know, is complete. And for now, we'll just say console log to-do. Then, before I forget, I'm going to bind it. So I'm going to say this on set to-do status equals this, bind this, blah, blah, blah. Now what I can do is I can send this function into the to-do list component. I'm simply going to say on select or on set to-do status equals this set to-do status. So this function isn't recognized at all by React or the DOM or anything, right? It is just a custom thing that I threw in there. It's not going to be magically picked up by React because it starts with the word on. But it's going to be a variable that's going to be available in the props parameter of our to-do list component. So what I can do is I can scroll up here to my to-do list, and I'm going to go ahead and use the object deconstruction syntax to get on set to-do status. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wrap this in a label. And inside of this, I'm going to add an input type equals checkbox. Now for this, I'm going to say on change, and I'm actually going to create a closure here. I'm going to say on change is E goes into on set to-do status, passing in the to-do that was modified, followed by E target checked. So now, whenever this checkbox is checked or unchecked, it will invoke the on set to-do status function, which is passed in from its parent. So the to-do list we've achieved, in the to-do list component, we've achieved complete separation of concerns. It has the data coming into it, the to-dos array, and it has a means of signaling to its parent component when somebody clicks on a particular to-do. So again, all we have to do is set the because a method is nothing more than a variable. Passing a method into a component is no more weird or bizarre than passing in the number 42. It doesn't matter. It's just a variable. It's just a pointer to a function. So we can invoke that function wherever we want. So now let's go ahead and check out what happens. Oh, whoops. I was going to set checked to be to-do is completed. Oh, is completed. I can spell good. Okay, now we have the checkboxes. Notice how clicking on these checkboxes doesn't affect anything because we've forced the checked property to be equivalent to to-do.isCompleted. But notice on the right-hand side, we're getting these console logs out. And of course, that is coming from our setToDo status. So let's go ahead and implement our setToDo status. I'm going to do so in a immutable manner. So what I'm going to do is on our setToDo status, I'm going to say const todos equals this state. Then I'm going to do, let's see what would be the best way to do this. I'm going to do this dot setState, pass in an object, remember, todos equals todos dot, and we're going to say map. We're going to run into a issue here with naming. So we'll do old todo goes into, and then I'm going to open up a function, and I'm going to say if old todo.id does not equal todo.id, then return old todo. Otherwise, return object.assign empty object old todo, followed by an object with is completed set to is complete. I'm actually going to change is complete to is completed, and then I'm going to actually break that down. Here I'm using another ES 2015 bit of syntax, where this syntax is equivalent to if I said is completed equals is completed, I can just do is completed. And so let's talk about this code for a second, because it's a little funky, but what we're doing is we're creating a new array of to-dos. We're creating a new immutable array of to-dos. Well, it's not immutable by nature. It is mutable. But in this case, we're creating a new instance of the to-dos array. And we're setting that to our to-dos on our setState. I can maybe, if you're not familiar so much with the syntax, again, I highly recommend checking out using modern JavaScript today, and so you think you know JavaScript, so you can kind of get more used to the syntax. I'll break it out just a little bit, though. Take this, new to-dos, const new to-dos equals that. So now it's broken out just a little bit, so hopefully you can kind of see what's going on. So I'm looping over all the to-dos. I'm checking to see if the old to-do is the to-do that we changed. If it's not, then we just return the old to-do. Otherwise, I create a new object, copying in all the values of old to-do, but setting the is completed flag to true or false, depending on what this method was invoked with. And then I simply set the state. And that's it. And now, we have a working to-do list. Alrighty, so basically at this point, the only thing really left to do, no pun intended, is the to-do form. And we're going to do that in the next video. And that's going to give us an interesting opportunity to take a look at how to get references to other components, to inner components, and how to deal with certain DOM manipulations. And with that, we will see you guys in the next video.